If this were a beauty pageant, we just lost. Looks aren't everything.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Sean, Autotopia LA. Today's episode is 100% inspired from truly the greatest story in motorsports ever. And obviously, the movie just came out, right? Ford versus Ferrari, which I can't even say I really agree with the title. It should be more like Ford completely crushes Ferrari.
God, you fat, sir. We're gonna bury Ferrari at Le Mans.
It's a phenomenal movie, and there's a couple of misses in it that kind of hit me. Not in a big way, it doesn't take away at all, but truly a fantastic movie. What I love about it is that it truly honors Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles and the importance that they had on motorsports. Think about the things Carroll Shelby was involved in and the people that he brought together, his ability to drive a team, drive a car. The guy was a driver, but he could no longer race because of the heart issues. So he had to become a team owner and really drive the whole thing. He knew how to work with the executives and the bureaucracy that was at Ford, but he knew how to work with guys like Ken Miles and Peter Brock, and the ability he had to inspire and work with them as well as drive and deal with the executives is, I don't know that there's anybody that's ever equaled what he did. I mean, during that short period of time from the early 60s into the mid 60s, he took a little British car company, the AC Bristol, talked Ford into giving him some motors, created the AC Cobra, and went out and beat Ferrari with that car. He created the Daytona Coupe, the GT350R, and most notably and most importantly probably would be the GT40, the car that went out and beat Ferrari at Le Mans, and not just beat him, but crushed him. Number 1, 2, and 3 coming across the line. I consider Ken Miles to be the one that won the race. Why? If you don't know this part of the story, Ken was a lap ahead of everybody else, crushing everybody. He was told to dial it back because they wanted all 3 cars to come across 1, 2, and 3 together. Photo finish, Ford beats Ferrari, 1, 2, 3, right? So as they come across the line, the officials realize that Bruce McLaren, having started 8 meters behind Ken Miles, he's technically the winner. And that's a big one for me because Ken Miles is probably one of the most underrated and most important race car drivers of all time. Think about his involvement in testing and development of the GT40, of the GT350R. Extraordinarily important to motorsports. So here's one of the misses for me in the movie, and this is the biggest one by far. There's a little known car that was the car that was coming after the GT40 called the J car, nicknamed the bread truck because of its flat back for aero. And at the end of the movie, they show Ken in what looks to be the next version of the GT40. He actually died in a J car. There was only 2 of those cars ever created. The one that was destroyed at Riverside when Ken died, and then the second one, which went back to Dearborn, Michigan, and was crash tested to try to figure out what happened. And then the program was scrapped. Very few people know about this car. I only learned of it about 5 years ago, and I'm pretty obsessed with the GT40 and the Shelby-related Ford products. That was the biggest of misses for me because I think he should have been honored better, and I would love to have seen them put him in a J car, but I guess for the movie now you would have had to explain what's this new car, right? So that's what the J car looks like for you guys. And by the way, I'm gonna say it again, the movie's phenomenal. I saw it last night. I'm probably gonna go see it again today because it's so good. Matt Damon does a phenomenal job recreating Carroll Shelby. Christian Bale is Ken Miles, the supporting cast. They nailed it, the driving scenes, on and on it goes. But back to what I think is the importance of guys like Carroll Shelby at the center of it, the people that he brought together. Peter Brock is a designer. Peter Brock designed the Daytona Coupe. He designed the '63 split window Corvette. That's right. Prior to being at Shelby, he was part of that car. And then even modern era is the GT350R that we shot recently with Jim Marietta at OVC Mustangs. couple of subtle design elements, but they're major ones to Peter, to Jim, and to Ted, the 3 surviving guys from that crew, that they wanted to bring forth into the car as they originally intended on it being done. Obviously the big one being the independent rear suspension, but also the rear window design is a total Peter Brock genius moment. And then the front fascia on the car is different from the original 65, the small vents in the bumper feeding into the brake duct. That's the genius of Peter Brock, an aerodynamicist, as well as arguably one of the greatest designers of all time. But these are the kind of guys that Carroll could bring together. Sometimes as much credit as he gets, I don't think he is given enough credit. It's the name that gets credit, but you gotta remember, what did he bring together? How did he have to deal with the bureaucracy at Ford, and then, you know, wild cards like the drivers he dealt with and the guys in that original, think about original shop back in Venice, California, not having enough cars to even homologate, so they would put out a Cobra, count it, bring it back in the shop, paint it a different color, bring it back out, show it. I mean, the genius of this guy, the risk-taking of this guy, to me it's the beauty of what some of our great leaders do, is they take risk, and when we read about it later after they had the success with it, we marvel at it and we get inspired by it. But it was this close to also being a massive failure. That's the beauty of any of our great risk takers, is that they're that close to complete and utter failure, but yet somehow a guy like Carroll Shelby and the people he brings together pulls it off. One of the things I love that we've been able to be a part of, along with shooting with the OVC guys, is we've spent a fair amount of time shooting with Superformance, which I've never actually driven a real Cobra. Most of you guys never have, never will. It's a very rare vehicle at this point, be it the 289 car or the 427 car. We've gotten to shoot those, and what Superformance has done with their recreation, replica, tribute, call it what you want, it gives you the ability to actually understand what these cars were and just how great they were over 50 years ago at this point. Along with that, we've gotten the opportunity to sit in and drive a Superformance Mark I GT40, which is as close as I'm ever going to get to sitting in and driving one. But recently, and we did an episode on this, we also got the opportunity at OVC Mustangs to actually see the Ken Miles driven GT40, the one that he, in my opinion, won Le Mans with. We actually got to see that car up close and personal. It was so close that if I had had a little more courage and a lot more stupidity, I would have actually gotten to sit in the driver's seat of that car. There's no question I would have gotten pulled out, beaten on, and arrested after that, but I would have been able to sit in that car had I been stupid enough. And sitting right behind that car, all it would have taken was a little more courage and a lot more stupidity, and I would have been able to sit in the Daytona Coupe, one of 6 Daytona Coupes that exist in the world. I would have been able to sit in that car that Bob Bondurant sat in and drove to victory multiple times. The honor that it's been for us to get to work with the people that we've gotten to work with and shoot with. For any of you that followed the channel, you've been right there with us, and this is just a tribute. This episode is a tribute to what Carroll Shelby created and the people that he worked with and everything that's come forward to bring us to where we are today, and to get to look back at this just magical era of cars and motorsports. And I promise lots more to come in the future with OVC, with the Shelby brand, and all the other stuff that we do. So that's it for today's episode, you guys. I hope you've had fun kind of walking down memory lane with us a bit here. If you haven't gone and seen it yet, drop what you're doing. Take the day off of work tomorrow, get a babysitter for the kids tomorrow night. If the wife doesn't want to go with you, get a babysitter for her as well. I highly recommend you get out the door as quickly as possible and go see Ford versus Ferrari. And don't worry about the things I've pointed out that were little misses here and there, because the movie is friggin' phenomenal. So that's it. I will see you in the next episode. Later, man.